disclose all my finances in divorce? We get asked this question a lot, especially from people who already know the finances that they have and have already been able to come to an agreement. But the reason is because most states require you to do so. In fact, in some states like California, the state law doesn't necessarily require you to share your financial information formally, but certain counties have laws that provide that you have to do that. Do I really need to disclose everything financially during my divorce? And the answer is yes, you do. You don't want to have a situation where years down the road, your spouse comes back and says, hey, what about that retirement account that you had? You never said anything about it in divorce. That was omitted, and now we need to divide it. You certainly don't want that. You have to be as transparent as possible with your finances, disclosing the good, the bad, and the ugly. Just because you disclose it doesn't mean that it will be divided equally or even divided at all. But what's important, what the law provides and what the court wants from you is that you get everything on the table, that you disclose it all. What's the purpose of having to disclose all of your assets and debts? Well, besides it being a legal requirement, marriage is oftentimes quite long, and the law presumes that you and your spouse are actually a legal entity, somewhat like business partners. And so unwinding that contract, unwinding that relationship is really challenging unless you understand and have information about all of the things that you might need to unwind and come to an agreement on. So the only way to get your spouse moving towards an agreement and really thinking about what works best for both of you at divorce is having the information about your finances and also understanding that information. What if my spouse is hiding assets or money? What can I do about it? This is really tricky, and it certainly comes up a lot. And sometimes you're not entirely sure if that's happening. So a really good idea is to look back through records, tax returns, maybe pull a credit report to see if anything is on there or referenced that maybe your spouse hasn't disclosed during the process, and then ask them. The best way to do this is to see if you can figure out what might be there and then put pressure on them to get you that information, or let the mediator or your attorney know so that they can push your spouse for that information. If you're still convinced that there are assets out there, significant pots of money or property that your spouse isn't disclosing, there are methods by which you can seek to get that information in a legal procedure called discovery. At that point, it's a really good idea to talk to a private investigator or a lawyer, even for an hour, to understand what your options are to try to get that information so that you can proceed with your divorce. How does the process of financial disclosures work, and do I really need to do it? And the answer is, informally, everybody has to disclose it, meaning everybody has to get their spouse and give their spouse information about all assets and debts that you have, either pre-marriage, during marriage, or even stuff that you've acquired after separation, even if that's not subject to division. Now, some states require you to formally disclose all of your finances. And sometimes it means that one of you has to do it, and sometimes it means that both of you have to do it. And sometimes it means that your disclosures will look absolutely actually the same as the other because you both have access to the same information, and that's okay. But if you are in a state or county where they require you to disclose your finances, we lead you through our software through a series of questions that gets you to think about almost every possible asset or debt you might have, even if you've forgotten about it. And then once you've filled out that information, what types of accounts you have, how much approximate funds are in those accounts, the software automatically populates the forms that you'll need to exchange with each other and file with the court. What if after you've separated, or maybe even after you or your spouse has filed a petition, one of you has come into a lot of money, like you won the lottery, I wish, or you came into an inheritance? Do you still need to disclose that information to your spouse? And the answer is yes. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean that your spouse gets a piece of that inheritance. In fact, most states would say that they don't. But what's important is that you cannot be seen as hiding anything. Our goal is always, and 95% of our customers get here, to an agreement. But on rare occasion, you might actually have to battle this out in court if you can't come to an agreement. And if the court finds that you're hiding information of any type, that's not only going to reflect badly on you, but it could actually really hurt your case.